Alright, so picture this. It's the year 2006. You are in peak 90s kids mode, and you've started to turn away from the newer stuff.
I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me.
You're older, wiser, and Squirrel Boy just ain't gonna cut it.
No, go past this part. In fact, never play this again.
You turned to different interests: anime, kung fu movies, cute girls, cute guys, and especially video games.
Let's go, baby! Let's go, play. Let's go, Seth. Yo, Seth, baby, let's go, bro! Let's go.
Now, while video games had and continue to have a super huge presence, back then, unless you were looking for Let's Plays or maybe a review here and there wasn't really much gaming content outside of games themselves. The only thing you really had was G4 and maybe a few scattered gaming things on Spike TV. You guys remember Mancers? That show was wild.
Now it's time for a Mancers Sexperiment!
But anyway, around this time I was starting to turn to the internet for more of my entertainment. Stuff like Smosh and Newgrounds were starting to become my new normal.
Draw on me! Oh my god!
Along with a heaping helping of Let's Plays. But one day I came across something that was different. I discovered the Angry Video Game Nerd, or Nintendo Nerd as he was known back then, and I had never seen anything like that before. It was like a TV show about video games, but the person making them actually knew what they were talking about. It was funny, it was unique, and after one episode, I was hooked. I quickly burned through all the episodes at the time, and I was hungry for more. But eventually I realized that Angry Video Game Nerd wasn't the only thing available on that website. You see, I wasn't watching AVGN on YouTube, I was watching it on a different site. And I learned that not only did the website have AVGN, it had tons and tons of gaming content. More than I knew what to do with. And that website was Screwattack. Founded in 2006 by Craig, I'm not pronouncing that last name, and Thomas Hanley, Screwattack was a platform that was dedicated to all things video game. Reviews, news, skits. Craig and Tom, who would adopt the names Stuttering Craig and Handsome Tom, would do it all.
Because there's good and crappy ones, we're gonna bring you both. The best of the best, and the ones that suck the most balls.
Hey, I'm Stuttering Craig.
And Handsome Tom.
For Screwattack's best and worst gaming peripherals.
Originally starting with just a podcast called Side Scrollers, the duo eventually realized that, hey, all these jerks have podcasts. So they decided to branch out a bit. They started a series called Video Game Vault, where they would pick a random game and either gush about it, blast it, or maybe even find a hidden gem. I used to love these videos. I learned about so many obscure older games through them. I even found some games that would go on to become some of my favorites. You see, I had a Wii, and one day I dropped it, and the craziest thing happened when I picked it back up. It was fully modded, and I could play almost any old game I wanted on it. Darndest things happened to me, I swear. But this show was so cool. Most of the stuff I saw online that featured older games were just Let's Plays of the same tired stuff. Like, how many nasally dudes do I need to tell me that Sonic 2 is amazing? I can do that by myself. But VGV gave me some insight about not just the celebrated titles, but the games that had fallen by the wayside. And that was cool. As their popularity began to grow, they made even more content. They made top 10s, they created sketches based on old video games, and they even started to recruit more people into their fold. As I mentioned previously, James Rolfe got his start as the Angry Video Game Nerd on Screwattack. Jonathan Mann, or GameJew, who's well known for his series Song a Day, who's been making a song a day for over 4,000 days, also made content for them. With these new partners, along with their own work effort, Screwattack was seeing hundreds of thousands of downloads and serving up fresh new content almost daily. But while things on the website were going well, things between Tom and Craig were starting to get a little tense. Eventually wanting to set up Screwattack as a legitimate business, Craig would go on to register it for an LLC. Which is cool and all, I mean, good on him for taking the next step. The only problem was that he took that step without Tom. Despite them starting the company together, Craig went on to gain full ownership of it, with him telling Tom that he would give him partial ownership if he could demonstrate his dedication to Screwattack.
I guess initially, when Screwattack started out, Tom and I had this great envision. This thing, Screwattack, was initially supposed to be a partnership. It was supposed to be, Craig and Tom with one goal in mind, doing something that we love and we're all about, video games, and making this thing happen. And as we grew and developed, things started to become a little more clear about how things were going to run and go, and things were going to happen. Unfortunately, things weren't getting done as a partnership, and it was the burden of starting a business, isn't an easy thing to do, let alone by one person. And as we continued to grow and things started to come in, it was obvious that Tom wanted to be a part of the company, but didn't necessarily know how to contribute in the growth of Screwattack, where his time was devoted to other things, and things just ultimately, weren't getting done. So as the initial plan was for Screwattack to be a partnership, as we started to make strides, it was obvious to me and other people involved directly with Screwattack that it wasn't a partnership from a growth standpoint.
This led to some animosity between the two, but they managed to hide it while making videos, and their success continued to grow. They did charities, made more shows, they even signed a contract with game trailers. This led to them hiring more staff that would go on to become big parts of the website. People like Jose Meja, 8-Bit Mickey, and even half of Death Battle, Ben Singer, came in around this time, becoming the very first employee Screwattack would ever hire. And each brought their own flavor to Screwattack, which in turn brought more viewers. People really resonate with how down-to-earth everything felt. It didn't feel like a company that was just cranking out videos to appease the masses. It felt like friends that were having a blast doing what they love to do. Even the community was nice, and on the internet, finding a nice fandom is like finding a unicorn. Even with some of the producers like GameJew leaving Screwattack continued to grow strong. They went on to create a gaming tournament known as the Iron Man of Gaming, which was a fairly big success. And Tom and Craig even went on to be cast as extras in the Far Cry movie. But their scene was later cut, though if you ask me, that scene getting cut was the true reward.
Ooh, glad that wasn't us.
It really looked like nothing could go wrong for Screwattack. However, sadly, things were starting to grow worse between Tom and Craig. Tom continued to ask for partnership, or at least to be paid based on participation like the video game nerd. Craig refused to give him either, saying he didn't do enough to deserve it, and so Handsome Tom would decide to part ways. Now, I wasn't there, as far as they know, so I don't know the full extent of this. A lot of this makes Craig come off as some sort of scumbag, but we don't know the whole story, so please don't demonize him. I'm not saying what he did was right, but without all of the information, we can't be so quick to judge. Tom would later go on to create the Game Heroes, a group he created with some other employees that left Screwattack. He even joined up with the Nostalgia Critic a few times. And who wants to be in Far Cry when you can have a starring role in Kick-Assia?
Not me.
Now, just because Tom left doesn't mean things were over for Screwattack. In 2008, there would be even more hires in the form of Destin and Corey. They would also go on to start Heart News, which would later be hosted by a pretty new at the time Pro Jarrett. And speaking of him, he wasn't the only YouTuber that got his start with Screwattack. Austin Hargrave, also known as Peanut Butter Gamer, used to make videos in the community section of Screwattack, as well as Trailer Drake, who now goes by Comic Drake. He used to edit for them before he moved on to Game Theory, before eventually starting his own channel. Screwattack really had a big impact on the internet gaming scene as a whole. Websites like Normal Boots, Blistered Thumbs, and even that guy with the glasses followed similar structures. And they followed this structure because it worked. It led to the group hosting a second Iron Man of gaming, which was so successful that it not only ended with them signing a contract with IGN to host content there, it even led to the company starting their own gaming convention, SGC, or the Screwattack Gaming Convention. Now, I never got to go there myself. Things like that require money. More places really need to accept blood. But it always looked like such a fun time, and you could really tell that Screwattack community was a really nice place. Nathan Barnett and his Keith Epicary persona would make frequent appearances there, much to the delight of younger me. The company would continue to grow, and it seemed like they could do anything. They made video games like Texting of the Bread, a cool little homage to Typing of the Dead, and even an official AVGN video game, which is a really fun little classic side-scroller that any nerd fan worth their salt should own. They even had their own retro gaming shop. Like, these guys were on fire. However, all things have to come to an end, and for Screwattack, the harbinger of that announcement was a little show called Death Battle. Now, if you're familiar with the internet, then you probably already know about Death Battle. But if you're familiar with me, then you probably know I don't care, and I'm going to explain it anyway. Death Battle was launched as a new show for Screwattack back in 2010, with the premise of taking those classic playground arguments about which character would beat which character, and turning it into a complete concept, fully decked out with in-depth discussion and snazzy sprite animation. With the first one being Samus vs. Boba Fett, it quickly became Screwattack's most popular series, raking in millions of views. But with people's eyes glued on Death Battle, a lot of their other content seemed to be bleeding views. So, as the years went on, while Screwattack continued to make other content, it was becoming quite clear that a lot of people flocking to Screwattack were only there to see Death Battle. Now, I like Death Battle. I don't love it like I used to. I mostly just watch it for the facts now about different characters, but Death Battle wasn't really why I loved Screwattack. I loved the variety of Screwattack. I loved seeing everyone there talk about the games they loved and the content they made. They felt like friends, and they were good to their fans, and they felt like one of the true, genuine gaming websites out there. Sure, they had opinions and practices I didn't agree with, and I didn't like everything that they made, but I did like that they made it. With people only watching Death Battle, it left them really unable to try out anything new. In 2014, Screwattack got bought by Full Screen Media, which also owns Rooster Teeth. And in 2015, it was merged into Rooster Teeth. And after that, the unthinkable happened. In 2016, Craig, along with some other members of Screwattack, left the company to start a new channel called Game Attack. Now, for a while, it was still under Rooster Teeth. But as of 2017, Game Attack is a completely separate industry.
Hey everybody, today is a really big day for myself and Sean, as May 1st, 2017, we left Rooster Teeth. And today, 2 years later, is could be quite possibly a bigger day. Yeah. Because for the first time ever, we actually own Game Attack.
And as of 2019, the name Screwattack was retired and rebranded as Death Battle. Now, although this seems like the kind of thing that would lead to a lot of animosity, this was pretty much a clean break. Craig wanted to do more stuff, and while he was in Screwattack, he couldn't. He didn't hold it against any of them, or really even against Death Battle, and he's still proud of that show.
It absolutely 100% should have been made. Death Battle was a major part of Screwattack's success. Major part, and I think that's awesome. Everybody should feel great about what Death Battle did for Screwattack, because it was a great thing. And Ben has been busting his ass on that show for 8 years. And I hope to God he gets another opportunity at Rooster Teeth. I hope to God he does.
But it was definitely the end of an era. Screwattack was a special place. It was a place that allowed people to be themselves, revel in their interests, and have a chance to make a living talking about the things they loved. And not only that, but do it in a way that felt oh so genuine. Websites like IGN feel so stuffy and opinionated that I never really enjoyed their content. But Screwattack was a community that really showed how much people love video games, and how they wanted everyone else to love them too. So, thank you, Screwattack, for the years of content, fun, and memories. You'll be missed, but never forgotten. Alright, so that was a long one. Thanks for listening to me ramble for so long. I'll release the restraint soon. But I'm not done talking about Screwattack just yet. Join me next week, and we'll talk about what I think is the most interesting thing Screwattack ever made. Sir? Did you just set a deadline for yourself? I did what now?